Yeah, hello students. Let me start with this first topic of KVPY module 1. I will start covering from mole concept to redox reactions. Okay, so let me start that. So topics which we will be covering will be mole concept and redox reactions. In mole concept, there are few terms which we must know. That includes relative atomic mass, which implies mass of an atom with respect to the 1 by 12th mass of carbon 12 isotope. Fine. So this is the first thing we must know. Second thing, that 1 by 12th mass of carbon 12 isotope is equivalent to 1.66 into 10 raised to power of minus 24 grams. Okay, so based on this we will get the standard relative atomic masses of any element. So in fact from here I can say that mass of an atom will be equal to its relative atomic mass multiplied by this 1 by 12th carbon 12 mass. Okay, and this is a very standard value, 1.66. This is a standard value, and that standard value is represented as 1 AMU, which is 1.66 into 10 raised to power of minus 24 grams. This is also known as 1 U, or unified mass. Okay, so basic terms you must know this. Next, uh, I would suggest all of you students to make sure you have an idea about all the elements and what is their atomic number, and if possible remember the mass number also. It will be easy for you to learn. The hydrogen being the first element, then we have helium, then lithium, right, beryllium, boron. Okay, then we have carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, and neon. Well, I can go beyond this as well. We can go beyond this as well, but I want you to make you understand what exactly I'm trying to figure out here. So first thing, I'll expect that you must know what is the number of protons and electrons this will have, which means what is the atomic mass and what is the atomic number, or mass number and atomic number. This is the first thing you must know for these elements. Mass number is also 1, atomic number is also 1 for hydrogen. Helium mass number is 4, atomic number is 2. Atomic number of lithium is 3, and this is 7, while this is 4 and this is around 9, 5 and 10. Carbon is 12, 6, 14, 7, 16, 8, 19, 9, 20 and 10. So these are the mass numbers and atomic numbers. But why do I talk about mass number and atomic number here, students? Because uh, this information will be useful when you are trying to find out the mass of one atom. So for instance, if I want to calculate the mass of hydrogen atom, okay, uh, the absolute mass of hydrogen atom must be the mass of, if you have n number of neutrons into mass of neutron plus n number of protons into mass of proton plus n number of electrons into mass of electron. This is the absolute mass. But if you see the relative masses of all of them, I will tell you here. Mass of electron is 9.1 into 10 raised to minus 31 kgs, or I can also write that as 9.1 into 10 raised to power of minus 28 grams. Or mass of proton is 1.667 into 10 raised to power of minus 24 grams. and mass of neutron is 1.67 into 10 raised to power of minus 24 grams. Mass of neutron and mass of proton are almost the same, and they are 1836 times that of mass of electron. So this basic information I would suggest all of you better have an idea about this mass of electron, proton, neutron, how they are. From here you can see if I want to calculate the hydrogen atom, there is no neutron here, so I don't have to worry about that. So there is only one proton, so that will make it 1 into 1.667 into 10 raised to power of minus 24 plus number of electron is also 1, and mass of electron can be written as mass of proton by 1836. So again this value is way too small here, so since this value is way too small, I can ignore this value here. So on ignoring that value, I would get that as 1.667 into 10 raised to minus 24 grams. So approximately mass of hydrogen is almost same as mass of proton, because there is only there is only proton and electron present. There is no neutron in hydrogen atom here. And if you see mass of sodium, for instance, if you take it for sodium, we will have 12 neutrons into mass of neutron plus 11 protons into mass of proton plus 11 into mass of electron. And since we consider the mass of neutron and proton is almost the same, we can write this as 23 times of mass of proton and plus 11 into mass of electron. And this mass of electron is too small, we can ignore this value. Therefore, we can get this as 23 times of mass of proton. Okay. From here we can see this 23 is actually a mass number. So I can write this as A times into mass of proton. That would bring us the mass of sodium atom. So the idea here is, if you want to calculate the individual or the absolute mass of any element, mass of any element will be equal to its mass number A multiplied by this 1.667 into 10 raised to minus 24 grams. And you know that this is very close to that 1 AMU value, so we can write this as A into 1 AMU approximately. And if you replace this mass number by relative atomic mass, you will get also the mass of the element, and this mass number and relative atomic mass will be very close to each other, very close in terms of their values. For instance, relative atomic mass of hydrogen is 1.008, while mass number of hydrogen is 1. So you can see these values are very close. So you can take any of that values and evaluate. Why I am very peculiar about this, students? See, if you take 23 grams of sodium, right? And if I compare that with 23 into 23 AMU of sodium, see what is the difference here. When I use the word 23 AMU, which means it is 23 times 1 AMU, which is mass of 1 sodium, then 23 AMU represents how many sodiums? Because this represents 1 sodium atom. If this represents 1 sodium atom, then 23 grams of sodium will represent how many sodium atoms? So from here I can say that this will be 1 into 23 divided by 23 into 1 AMU. So this is 1 by 1 AMU, which is equal to 1 by 1.667 into 10 raised to power of minus 24, which comes to be as 6.023 into 10 raised to power of 23 atoms. And that is how we can introduce to the term mole. So you could see that when we convert the mass data, like if you have mass of an element as mass number multiplied by 1 AMU, that is in AMU units. And if I take the same value in terms of grams, then the number of atoms present in it would be this 6.023 into 10 raised to 23. So remember from here students, mole is nothing but mass of an element, when we represent its mass number excuse me, when we represent its mass number in grams. So remember it this way. So mole is nothing but a number of atoms here. I'm taking reference as number of atoms. Number of atoms will be equal to mass number when you represent that in grams. So in simplicity, if I say 16 grams of oxygen, 23 grams of nitrogen, sodium, sorry, 12 grams of carbon, yeah, 14 grams of sodium, they all contain, right, 6.023 into 10 raised to power of 23 atoms, their respective atoms. So these many atoms they would be contained. So think in this way, this is the mass. Now we know that I can relate this way, that if 16 grams of oxygen is representing 1 mole, if it is representing 1 mole, then if you have x grams of oxygen, some x grams of oxygen, how many moles does that represent? It would be x by 16, correct? So from here we can generalize a formula that moles of an atom will be equal to weight of an atom given, or the mass of an atom given, divided by atomic mass. In this case, atomic mass of oxygen here is 16 and x is the weight of the oxygen given. So the number of moles of the oxygen would be x by 16. I hope that is making sense, everybody. So in short, wherever you come across the data, this is the first thing I want you to do it. For example, if I give you 46 grams of sodium atoms, 46 grams of sodium, it implies that we know that 23 grams represents 1 mole of sodium, then 46 grams represents how many moles? So which implies number of moles of sodium is equal to 2. So try to recall it this way, and here I can put it like a general formula, that number of moles is equal to weight of an atom by its atomic weight of the atom. Okay. Now this is for an atom. The same thing can be generalized for a molecule also. Now what is a molecule or a compound here? Molecule is simply a combination of atoms. For instance, H2 is also a molecule, H2O is also a molecule, and so on. Now for instance, if I tell you that 36 grams of H2O is present, then I need to calculate number of moles of H2O. Then how do I do that? Here again I'll use this formula, number of moles of H2O will be equal to weight of H2O divided by something called molecular weight of H2O. What is this molecular weight? See, molecular weight of a molecule or a substance will be equal to sum of all the atomic masses. For instance, if you see it for water, for H2O, molecular mass will be equal to 2 times the atomic mass of hydrogen plus 1 time the atomic mass of oxygen. So it is 2 into 1 AMU plus 1 into 16 AMU. So which makes it 18 AMU. So 18 AMU is the mass of one H2O molecule. So we know the mass of one H2O molecule. From here I can calculate number of moles of H2O. So which is equal to 36 divided by 18. So it is 36 divided by 18, which means it is 2 moles. So guys, remember this as a formula. Everybody who is who's very new to this, who's not able to understand, please go through this once again. See, I would suggest go by term. I'm giving one more example just for sake of understanding. If I give you 49 grams of H2SO4 and 98 grams of H3PO4, we need to find out what are the number of moles here and number of moles here. The first thing I would suggest all of you to do in these cases is calculate the molecular weight. The molecular weight of H2SO4, which is equal to 2 times 1 AMU plus 32 AMU, which is the atomic mass of sulfur, 4 into 16 AMU, which makes it as 98 AMU. So number of moles of H2SO4, you can simply write this as the weight given is 49. So 49 divided by 98. See, this 98 AMU can be written in another units as 98 gram per mole. It is obvious that this is for one atom. So if it is for 1 mole of atom, it will become 98 grams. So 48 grams divided by 98 grams here, which implies it is 0.5 moles. So 49 grams of H2SO4 represents 0.5 moles of H2SO4. Clear, students? And if you see the same thing, H3PO, if you see for H3PO3, here also molecular weight, here also you can see molecular weight of H3PO4 will be equal to 3 times plus phosphorus is 31 plus 4 times 16, again you will get it as 98. So number of moles of H3PO4 is also equal to 98 by 98, which is equal to 1 mole. Yeah. So we have 0.5 moles of H2SO4 and 1 mole of H3PO4 as per the question. Okay. So I hope you got some familiarity in terms of number of moles. Once you know the number of moles, there are many different ways of using the term number of moles. One is gram molecular mass, which we write it as GMM. This is nothing but moles. This is same as saying it as molar mass of molecule. So gram atomic mass of, for example, H2SO4. H2SO4 will be 98 grams per mole. That's it. Similarly, I can use the term gram atomic mass, GAM, but this is for atomic mass of an element. Okay. But the units this time will be, suppose if you are asking of let's say sodium, then this will be 23 grams per mole. So I want you guys to be aware of these two terms also. Next important term I want you to learn is what is STP condition. This is mainly applicable for gases. So when it comes to gases, if I take 1 mole of a gas maintained at 1 atm pressure, if it is maintained at 1 atm pressure with 0 degree centigrade temperature, which we also write it as 273 kelvins. In that case, the volume occupied by the gas is approximately found out to be 22.4 liters. Now, in case if the pressure is given in atm, then the volume will be 22.4 liters. If the pressure is given is 1 bar pressure, if it is 1 bar pressure, rest everything is same, then volume of the gas would be equal to 22.7 liters. Okay. So just remember which case what to be used. Okay. So this is an STP condition. Even in the books, if it is given NTP condition, it is one and the same. So you take NTP or STP as same condition, students. This condition would be very essential for problem solving, especially when you have to convert moles into volume, which means there is a gas present which has 2 moles of gas or 2 moles of carbon dioxide acid in atmosphere. Okay, atmosphere. So 2 moles of gas represents 2 times of 22.4 liters of carbon dioxide, which is 44.8 liters. So that's all. So you should be able to relate with number of moles to the volume or volume to the number of moles depending upon the question. Okay. So we got an idea about moles, we got an idea about STP condition, correct? Now the next thing you should know once you know the moles, right, is about the concentration terms. Concentration terms. And this is more asked in KVPY exams, students. So focus more on concentration terms. For concentration, we need to understand what is a solution. Solution is a combination of solute, which is usually less in quantity, solvent, which is bulk in quantity, right? This is a solution. And in a solution, we have various concentration terms. The first of them is percentage composition. Percentage composition. When you use the term percentage composition, this will be percentage weight by weight. First of the kind is percentage weight by weight, which implies weight of solute divided by weight of solution into 100. Now I can take this weight in gram units or I can take it in kg units. Anyway, the percentage weight by weight will be dimensionless. The second one is percentage weight by volume. Again, this is weight of solute by volume of solution. So normally students get confused here. Make sure you understand that the denominator is always about solution, not solvent. Sometimes students might think that as solvent, so just be aware of it. Next we have percentage volume by volume, which means volume of solute in grams, in ml, by volume of solution in ml into 100. So these two percentage compositions are very, very well used. The percentage weight by volume by weight can also be represented, but well, you can mix and match now, and I hope you can understand if percentage weight volume by weight is given, then how to represent. Yeah, this is about percentage representation. Second is about mole fraction. Mole fraction. Mole fraction normally written as X. So it is used when, especially when you have gases or some mixture of acids and bases. So suppose if you have gases like A and B, okay, I'm assuming that they are gases, then the mole fraction of A will be number of moles of A by number of moles of A plus B, which means number of moles of A divided by total number of moles. That represents the mole fraction. Similarly, XB will be equal to number of moles of B by number of moles of A plus B. And you can see XA plus XB is equal to 1, which implies if you have lot more solvents here like A, B, C, D and so on, then XA plus XB plus XC and so on, the sum of all of them should be equal to 1. So sum of all the mole fractions must be equal to 1. So this is the next important term, students. Revise it. What is mole fraction? How it is being used. Okay. And the third one, and which is very important for us, is molarity, which is written as capital M, which implies number of moles of solute divided by volume of solution in liters. So unit, if you see by units, it is mole per liter, or also known as molar, or simply we write it as capital M. All of these are the respective units of molarity. So number of moles of solute divided by volume of the solution in liters represents molarity. Now what you will identify, students, if you learn the basic term like what is density. Density of a gas or any substance will be equal to weight of that substance divided by volume of that substance. So sometimes if the density is being used, right, so we can see that this is weight by volume term which you will get as density. Okay. Now if it is for a solution, then we say normally it is the density of the solution. Density of the solution. So if we know this density of the solution D as gram per ml units, if these are the units given, then we can assume that molarity will be equal to percentage weight by weight into density of solution multiplied by 10 divided by molecular weight of solute. And this is a very important formula for us to learn that how the molarity, percentage weight by weight, density and molecular weight are related with each other. Now sometimes instead of giving percentage weight by weight, we might be given as percentage weight by volume. In that case, molarity will simply be percentage weight by volume into density of solute. There is no density term, no, into 10 divided by molecular weight of solute. Yeah. So this is about molarity term. So I hope all of you got it. What is mole fraction term? And now we learned what is molarity term. And other than molarity, we have one more important term, molality, which is written as small m. So if you look at the molality part here, so molality small m is defined as number of moles of solute, divided by the weight of solvent in kgs. Here it is to be very it has to be taken care because it is not solution anymore, it is represented in terms of solvent weight. Okay. And students, directly I'll tell you that molarity and density of solution are related with each other, with a formula that small m is equal to 1000 times of capital M divided by 1000 times of density of solution minus molarity multiplied by molecular weight of solvent. Yeah, sorry, molecular weight of solute. So if you use this, you can see molarity, and density. All these three are interrelated with each other. So sometimes molarity is given, calculate molarity. But this has been a very standard question in most of competitive exams, including KVPY. So I would suggest to mug up this formula directly instead of deriving it there. And mole fraction can be related with molality as molecular weight of solvent into molality divided by 1000. Okay, so this is one way you can relate molality with respect to mole fraction. So I would suggest remember these three formulas 1, 2 and 3. So this will be very much useful for problem solving. Okay. So we learned how the molality works. The next important term we need to learn is what is dilution and what is mixing of solutions. Dilution is nothing but decreasing the concentration of solution by adding solvent like water. I'll take it with a simple example so that you are clear. Like I have a solution which has a molarity M1 and volume V1, and then we are trying to add this with a molarity. Here there is nothing but something like water, let's say. So this is only solvent, and the solvent which I'm adding is V2 volume, and after adding, the volume of this entire solution increases, and the final volume will be V1 plus V2. Okay, so the volume has increased because both of them, when you mix both of them, the final volume will be V1 plus V2. But what about the molarity of this new solution? Because earlier molarity was M1, would it still remain M1, or would it change, or would it decrease or increase? See students, when you add water to the original solution, right, then we are only adding solvent, which implies the number of moles of solute remains constant. So therefore, in dilution, whenever we say dilution, means you're adding some water or any solvent. So in dilution or under dilution, we can say M1V1 will be equal to M1V1 is equal to M2V2. Here V2 is nothing but the total volume, which is V1 plus V2. So therefore M2 will be equal to M1 V1 divided by V1 plus V2. So that's how we can calculate the new molarity, right, after dilution. So on adding water, the solution is undergoing dilution, and this would be the new molarity to be calculated. Okay students, those who are not able to understand, pause it, just relate it once properly and again go ahead. Okay, now that is about dilution. After dilution comes combination or combining or mixing of solutions. Okay, so then what would happen? Suppose if I take something like NaOH solution, aqueous solution, its molarity is M1 and volume is V1, and at the same time I took one more NaOH solution whose molarity is M2, volume is V2. In a similar terms, if you have molarity M3 and volume V3 for three different solutions, but all of them are NaOH solutions only, on adding them, we will get the final volume, and the final volume will be V1 plus V2 plus V3. So in fact, our objective is to calculate what is the molarity in this new solution. Now this time I can't say that initial moles are same as final moles, because it is not dilution, it is a mixing of the similar solutions of various concentrations. So here we can say that M1 V1, which are the number of moles of NaOH, plus M2 V2 and M3 V3, or the total number of moles of NaOH. So molarity final will be equal to total number of moles of NaOH divided by volume of final solution. In this case, volume is V1 plus V2 plus V3. So number of moles of NaOH, if you look at it students, so that would be M1 V1 plus M2 V2 plus M3 V3 divided by V1 plus V2 plus V3, and that's how we will get the final molarity of the solution. So this is by combining of solutions. Okay, these three cases I would suggest personally everybody to revise carefully. One is dilution, one is combining of mixture of solutions, the third one is neutralization. The third one is an acid base reaction or neutralization reaction. Acid base reactions. So for our simplicity, first I'll give you a list of acids just to remember wherever you come across. List of strong acids, or the acids which we are using in this chapter at least are only strong acids. That includes HCl, HBr, HI. These are strong acids. Then it comes to H2SO4, HClO4, HNO3, right? So these are relatively strong acids. Okay. Now, if you see the list of strong bases that is there in every group, right? Group 1 we have NaOH, KOH, RbOH, and CSOH. These are the list of strong bases. Not just that, we can have barium hydroxide, right? We can have calcium hydroxide and some part of magnesium hydroxide. It is not 100% strong, yeah, but we can put that in this category as strong bases. Now, when these strong acids and bases react with each other, they will form salt and water. For instance, if we take HCl plus NaOH, then we shall get this as NaCl plus H2O. Okay, so we can say this is an acid, this is a base, both have undergone neutralization because both of them have exactly used up the same amount. So therefore, this is what we have as salt and water. Okay, and this equation HCl plus NaOH is what we call it as the neutralization equation. So here, if you observe, for every 1 mole of HCl we require 1 mole of NaOH. So if number of moles of HCl is equal to number of moles of NaOH, then no acid or base will be left. No acid or base will be left. Hence, it is called as neutralization point. Neutralization point, which means a point at which HCl and NaOH has been reacted together to give salt and water. So same logic can be applied to all the acid base reactions. This is something I want all of you to practice, that H2SO4 plus NaOH is going to give out Na2SO4 plus Na2SO4 plus H2O. This is the way we can present it. If you balance the equation, on balancing equation you will get this as 2 moles here, and that's it. So 2 moles here and 2 H2O is coming out of it. Clear?